Dr. Sylvian Petrovan there. Now, captured on a doorbell camera in Canada, a sight and sound to make you sit up. That is the sound of a meteorite striking the earth, and you can see dust scattering as it hits the driveway. It's the first time ever that a meteorite falling to earth has been captured on video with sound. The rock was confirmed to be ordinary crondite, the most common type of space rock to hit the earth. There you go. We are back soon, and have a great weekend. Do stay here on BBC News. I'm Geetha Gurumurthy. Thanks for watching.
Hello, I'm Christian Fraser in Washington, and this is the context.
The Security Cabinet approved the deal, the ceasefire deal, earlier in the day. It has now been passed to a full government meeting.
Although there is a deal tantalizingly close to the possibility of reuniting with our loved ones, there's still always the devil in the details, and right now the devil is still taunting us.
Unfortunately, even that we are approaching the official announcement and the enforcing of the ceasefire, we are still having the killing is continued.
Above all, this is a reflection of the human tragedy that has befallen both Israelis, the hostages, their families, and the Palestinian civilian population of Gaza.
The Israeli government still in a meeting to approve the ceasefire with Hamas. Will it hold? And how will the incoming Trump administration steer it through the latter stages? We'll get the view here in Washington. The hugely popular social media app TikTok will be banned in America on Sunday. The Supreme Court has dismissed an appeal by the company. We'll have more on that. How much of Joe Biden's green policy can be unpicked? We'll speak to one of America's leading climate scientists. And Houston, we have a problem. The Starship blows up on its way to orbit, a spectacular view for those on the ground, an irritating setback for Elon Musk. A very good evening from Washington. Israel has tonight released the names and ages of 95 Palestinian prisoners who will be freed from Israeli prisons in the first phase of a ceasefire deal if and when it is approved. The full Israeli cabinet is meeting tonight to consider the agreement. David, it's good to see you. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks, Christian.
We'll take a short break. Around the world and across the UK, this is BBC News. Kristi Noem, the governor of South Dakota, will become one of the most prominent figures in Donald Trump's new cabinet. If, as we expect, she is confirmed this next week as the new Secretary for Homeland Security, then she will be responsible for securing the border and enacting the mass deportations Donald Trump has promised.
Humor thing, although who knows, it might turn into something much more serious if we see the app start evolving.
They may well have to go somewhere. We will see. We'll talk about the politics of it in the next hour. Nadia, for the moment, thank you very much for that. We'll take a short break. After the break, we're going to talk plenty more about the inauguration and the green agenda that Joe Biden has left. Do stay with us.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
It's always nice to win.
And will, to the best of my ability,
make America great again.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
I raised my right arm and started shouting, fight, fight, fight.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
Join us Monday for live coverage of President Trump's inauguration on BBC News from midday, with a special programme from 3:30 on BBC One and on iPlayer.
Hello, I'm Christian Fraser. This is The Context on BBC News. Firefighters battling LA's wildfires welcomed the easing of powerful winds which had propelled the flames, but an expansive and complex cleanup operation lies ahead. We will get to all that very shortly. Let's first get a check on the sport. Here's Tulson.
Christian, thank you very much indeed. Let's get more on the news. In the past hour that Dennis Law has passed away at the age of 84. The Scotland international won the league, FA Cup and European Cup with Manchester United, and also had spells with rivals Manchester City and Torino. And Christian, more on that and of course everything else on the BBC Sport website, but that is all your sport for now.
Tulson, thank you very much. Yes, a big figure in British football. We'll try and get some more response to that over the next hour. Let's talk about LA. It's been a hellish week for the firefighters over there, but for now, they do have a period of respite, which they will need in order to regroup and recover. Sanjay, lots of news we've got to get to tonight. It's really good to talk to you. Would love to talk more, but hopefully you'll come back on the programme.
Thank you, will do.
Thank you. Around the world and across the UK, you're watching BBC News. Welcome back. We've been telling you in the last half an hour the sad news that the Manchester United and Scotland footballing legend Dennis Law has passed away, aged 84. He was, of course, considered one of the greatest footballers the country had ever produced, Scotland had produced, going from humble beginnings in Aberdeen to superstardom for Manchester United. During his 11 years at the club, he scored 237 goals.
Future space exploration.
Just a blip on the route to Mars. Dr. Barber, thank you very much indeed. Good to talk to you. Coming up after the break, we're going to be talking to our panel who'll be here with me here in the Washington studio. We'll talk about the inauguration, which we were told today is moving inside. It is bitterly cold here in Washington. I have news for you. I will be the one outside reporting on it. So I don't get any inside warmth. We'll talk about that after the break. We'll be right back. Hello, I'm Christian Fraser. This is The Context from Washington.
They've taken the decision to take it inside, which is the first time they've done it since 1985, when it was even colder.
It'll, add to the allure of having a different photo op, but people are mostly going to be paying attention to what Donald Trump is saying and what the other guests that are attending the inauguration are doing.
Joining me tonight in the studio, Annika Green, the Republican strategist, founding partner of Reach Global and former speechwriter for George W. Bush. And also here, Joel Rubin, former US Deputy Assistant Secretary of State. Looking forward to talking to them both. All the machinery gets in the way. I am looking forward to talking to you both. But first, let's have a quick scan through the latest BBC headlines. Donald Trump's inauguration on Monday is to be moved indoors due to the cold weather. Preparations had been underway for months for the event to be held, as usual, outside the Capitol in Washington. The ceremony will now take place inside the Rotunda building. The Israeli cabinet is meeting to ratify the Gaza ceasefire and the hostage deal after it was recommended for approval by the Security Cabinet. It's expected to pass despite some ministers having threatened to resign over the deal. The US Supreme Court has upheld a law signed by President Biden banning TikTok in the US from this Sunday unless it's sold to an American company. The law was introduced over fears about Chinese control of the app through its parent company ByteDance. And the Manchester United and Scotland footballing legend Denis Law has passed away, aged 84. Law was considered one of the greatest footballers Scotland had ever produced, going from humble beginnings in Aberdeen to superstardom for Manchester United. If you are just joining us, welcome to the programme. Donald Trump's inauguration then will be moved indoors because of the dangerously cold temperatures we're expecting here in Washington. The forecasters say it will be one of the coldest inauguration days since 1985, when Ronald Reagan took the oath for the second time. The temperatures could fall as low as -6 degrees centigrade, with wind chill even lower. OK, we'll talk plenty more about what is coming up over the next few days. We'll take a short break. Just a reminder that we will have full live coverage of Donald Trump's inauguration on BBC News. We've got a special programme coming from Washington, 12 GMT. That begins on Monday. I do hope you'll join us for that. We'll take that break. We'll be right back after this. While we've been away, we've had a point of order here in the studio. Annika actually does tours in Congress, so she's been putting me right. Because I actually was thinking that the inauguration was going to be moved into the chamber where everybody sits, where we see a joint coming together, a joint address with the Senate and the House together. But you're saying actually it will be in the rotunda, the bit where Jimmy Carter was lying in state.
Yes, and Ronald
underneath
Reagan
the dome,
in state.
that magnificent dome. So what? They'll build a stage, will they?
When it's a liberal.
Yeah. The big question, of course, outstanding is whether you're going to see bipartisan reform of immigration and border control. That's perhaps a question for another day. We'll take a short break. After the break, we will turn to the expansionist policies of Donald Trump. Lots to talk about there. Hello, I'm Christian Fraser. This is The Context on BBC News. As we gear up for a second Trump presidency, what will it mean for the war in Ukraine? Our correspondent has visited the soldiers on the front line. One of the president-elect's other fixations at the moment is expanding the borders of the United States to include Greenland, the Panama Canal, maybe even Canada becoming the 51st state. It's really interesting reading. Sit down if you're a Brit and you're reading it. Go and have a look at Thomas Barnett's piece in Politico. There's a whole debate there about where Britain fits in all this, outside Europe, and not necessarily part of one of these big global orders. But I'll leave that for another day, perhaps. I will take a short break. Around the world and across the UK, you're watching BBC News. Welcome back. During the election campaign, Donald Trump told us repeatedly that he would end the war in Ukraine in a single day. Well, his own envoy, recently deployed to Ukraine, has now revised that figure to 100 days. Our senior international correspondent Orla Guerin is in Ukraine, judging the mood ahead of Trump's imminent return to the White House. Joel, Annika, lovely to have you coming. This is the warmest welcome I've had since I came to Washington. -6.
It's only going to get colder.
-6, are you kidding me? It is so cold out there. I'm leaving here because I'm outside for the rest of the week. So I'm going from here to find some Bernie Sanders mitts. So I can keep my hands warm next week. Because I'm the one on the outside broadcast, not in the rotunda next week. So
short straw.
Good of you to come in. Thank you both. Lovely to have your company. We will be back same time with The Context on Tuesday, but of course plenty of inauguration coverage before that. Do stay with us. You're watching BBC News.
Hello from the BBC Sports Centre. I'm Tulson Tollett. In the past few hours, it's been announced that Denis Law has passed away at the age of 84. The Scotland international won the League, FA Cup and European Cup with Manchester United and also had spells with rivals Manchester City and Torino. He's also the only Scottish player to have won the Ballon d'Or. Our sports correspondent Andy Swiss looks back at his life. And that is all your sport for now.
Good evening. It's been a quiet week of weather, and that settled